Happy Mars Day, everyone, and happy Pluto making its final ingress into Aquarius. To all who celebrate. Now, if you've been following along, you've certainly heard me talk about Pluto and Pluto's time in Capricorn, and it's sort of dipping its toe into Aquarius for a little bit, and then going retrograde and going back to Capricorn in that last or anaretic degree, the 29th degree. It's done that a couple times since March 23rd, 2023. But as of today, November 19th, 2024, we have its final ingress into the sign of Aquarius, where it will remain until the year 2043, 2044, 2043. Either way, it's there to stay. It will, of course, go retrograde at certain times, but the next time it does retrograde, it will be far enough into Aquarius to where even its retrograde period will be within Aquarius. So it's done with Capricorn. It is the bookend of an era that began in 2008. I'm not going to talk too much about the specifics of Capricorn, Aquarius, and Pluto for this video. That's going to be a separate video. But if you're interested, I did do a video at the very beginning of this year, January, and it's a pretty long one, so you might not get through it all at once. But I talk about the history of Pluto in Aquarius, and it's a very interesting video because there's a lot of signatures of the energy of Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, transformation, power, wealth. The planet known for demolition, honestly, demolition of system structures that cannot be sustained um, alongside the collective evolution of humanity. So um, that's going to be felt anytime Pluto changes signs, but especially in the transition from Capricorn to Aquarius. And real quick, the reason that is because Capricorn, what's interesting is Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. And I talk a lot about Saturn on this channel and as well as on my Instagram page. But Saturn rules Capricorn. In traditional astrology, before Uranus was discovered, traditionally Saturn ruled both Capricorn and Aquarius. So Capricorn season, of course, starts in December, around last third of December, and lasts through about the last third of January, and then of course that's when Aquarius season begins. So they're back-to-back signs, and Saturn was just considered the ruler of both of them. Now, in 1781, Uranus was discovered, and Uranus is considered in modern astrology to be the ruler of Aquarius. I fall into the group of astrologers that says Saturn co-rules Aquarius, because there is a distinct Saturnian element to Aquarian energy. It's fixed air. And if you have any Aquarius placements, or if you know anybody with strong Aquarius placements, it is impossible. They might have that sort of weirdo streak, that out there, that alien quality that Uranus definitely brings, but there is an unmistakable Saturnian quality to Aquarius. So I I think that the juxtaposition of Plutonian energy in Capricorn, which is just Saturnian, it's cardinal Earth. So Capricorn energy, it's very stable. It initiates the long-term plan, like in the earthly realm, like it gets the practical things in order. So when you take Pluto and look at the past 15-ish years from 2008, and you look at what has happened, for better or worse, in the context of our structures, our institutions, our sort of like the formalities and traditions that have governed collective life and society at large, and look at how Pluto's journey through Capricorn has really had a way of highlighting the weak spots essentially, and it's just as it's done through history. It has a way of sort of foreshadowing what we can expect the consequence of what has been highlighted in that time. Um, History shows that once Pluto finally makes that transition into Aquarius, which is associated with the people, in contrast to institutions and structures and top down power systems, Aquarius is the collective. It's not me as the central ruling authority at the top. It's not me as CEO of this institution or this structure. It's us as members of community. Um, Aquarius governs community and technological advancement. It's concerned with the future. It's concerned with um, got a rebellious bent to it, definitely. That Uranian quality, that sort of lightning bolt energy, sort of out there way of looking at things. Definitely creative ways to approach collective problems, or things having to do with groups of people and shared interests and networks, whether that's online or in the physical 3D world. So the shift that you are probably feeling and witnessing around you, but certainly will experience more of in the time moving forward, that's going to be a defining theme, definitely for the rest of this year, but also just carrying us into like the next year or so. So, given that this is a very profound energy, it's impossible to not notice Pluto transits, but especially a final ingress into a sign where it will stay. It sort of shifts us all, no matter where you are on the globe, into this new era. So it can feel very disarming, and you would be forgiven for feeling almost like a live wire lately. Like I really feel that if you've ever wondered like the archetypal energies of planets and you want to start somewhere, you might as well start with Saturn and Uranus. Saturn I talk about a lot, but Uranus is very much the sort of you can link it to the tower in tarot, because sometimes it's like a shock and awe, and it can seem catastrophic, and when the tower falls it just seems like something that's bad, but then you're forced in standing in the rubble to look around and realize that things that were structurally sound don't fall. They withstand a lightning bolt strike. They withstand a Uranian type influence. So when you take Pluto, the energy of Pluto, which is, I really like to, an encapsulated way to talk about Pluto is um, almost like the revelation of your own power um, in your subsequent transformation, usually as a result of some sort of loss. Um, and it's definitely likened, you would liken it to the phoenix rising from the ashes. It's like once everything is burned down, you're forced to sit there and take an inventory and look around you at what remains. And that's where those are your keys. Whatever remains, even like remnants of whatever was there before, um, those are the things are your superpowers and that you need to acknowledge and to nurture. Um, And that is what my advice to you is. If this message finds you, it's for you. This is a collective message. I'm just going to jump in and pull some cards on what this collective energy is right now. So if you are a subscriber to the Moonflower Collective, welcome back. I love you guys. I really appreciate you being here. And if you're not, well, I would say that Pluto entering Aquarius um, is a really great occasion to go ahead and visit the channel page and to hit subscribe so you can follow along. If you want to and you want to go back to some of the earlier videos, they will definitely take you on a ride of what the energy of Pluto is, because uh, as some of you might know, if you've been following along, as someone who has their natal Venus placement at 29 degrees of Capricorn, I have been a student, you might say, of what the energy of Pluto does when it travels over your planet that rules love and relationships and harmony and balance and beauty and art and self-expression. Um, what happens when Pluto meets up with it and rolls over it, and then takes away what wasn't sound, and then goes retrograde over it again, and then goes over it again, and then goes back and forth enough times to make you really force yourself, actually, from my personal experience, to really stand in your power, like learning what turning pain into power is, because Pluto has a way of leaving you no choice. So hopefully for you, you don't have Pluto coming for your Venus, but if you do, this is a great channel for you to stick with, because it will show you that you can get through it. You will, but it's going to feel like nothing you've ever experienced. So that being said, I'm just going to start pulling some cards, and I hope you find something in here that resonates with you. I'll go ahead and tell you that there is something in here for you. That is just my belief about the way energy works, especially if you are already subscribed. We have a connection in the ethers, in a very Aquarian way. And the more that this exchange happens, even through the lens of a camera, also a very Aquarian idea of exchanging ideas with a collective, known or unknown, of shared interests, is very much the energy of Aquarius in general. So I'm going to use, just going to pull a couple from the Kim Krantz Archetypes deck, and then I'm going to take the two most appropriate decks I could think of for this occasion. The Quantum Tarot, one of my favorite decks, Quantum Tarot. And then, of course, the Aquarian Tarot. And I'm not going to get too many cards, but enough just to get something out here for the collective. So I do hope everyone is doing something to ground themselves. I mean, to me, my go-to is to go outside and just walk until the thoughts organize themselves, not for purposes of getting a certain amount of walking in, or duration of walking, just walking for the sake of walking. It's my favorite grounding practice. So you grounding your own way, but I highly recommend that when you don't know what else to do with yourself. And I'm going to try to lay the cards out to make them most visible to you from the angle that you will be viewing this. And feel free to zoom in to get a closer look at any of the cards that are laid out. I'll try to remember to take a picture at the end, like post it on the Instagram page For anyone that doesn't know, it's at Moonflower Collective. Oh, we have the poet. But yeah, on Instagram, it's at Moonflower Collective, not the Moonflower Collective. So feel free to follow along. I do more short form content on there more regularly, just to sort of fit the formatting of Instagram. It allows me to write longer captions about day-to-day transit sometimes. So you might find that interesting. The poet. I think that we are going to try to get one more. I don't want to get too many of these because I like to also read the description. I really like this poet card though. You can zoom in. The poet has really, really interesting imagery. There's a lot of darkness. There's a lot of Plutonian energy that I get from this card. It's like two hands holding what looks like an orb, and it's like kind of the shadowy figure that kind of disperses into a bunch of birds, like going up into the sky. Very much captures the feeling of the energy of right now. Okay, so we're going to, of course, go to the description of this in the Archetypes Guidebook, but let's get one more to go with the poet. Very interesting card to set the tone. Talk a lot about the importance of creative self-expression. And from what I remember of the description in the card deck, I think that that's going to tap into that a lot. The importance of bringing what is inside of you to the outside in this era is going to be, I think, an overriding theme that you almost won't even be able to ignore within yourself. The creative impulse, and not just the creative impulse, but the impulse to share it with the collective, or whoever your collective is. And it's definitely not too late to start being a participant in building that and finding the people that share your interests. It is definitely the time for the formation and nurturing of groups, small groups, larger groups, but they will be based on shared interests. Creative self-expression, sharing parts of yourself in ways that are new and different than maybe other modalities of expression that have been popularized in the past. Let's get one more, please. All right, it gave us two more, so we've got the flame, we've got the mother. The flame and the mother. At the bottom, very Uranian, the storm. How appropriate. So interesting. What I'm getting right off the bat, so the way I like to use the bottom of the deck card is, this is the underlying energy. Another way of saying that is, what is the energy that we kind of walked in here with? Like what brings us to this reading? What compels us to even be pulling cards anyways? And the storm with darkness, with like what looks like this sort of lightning bolt going, like kind of slicing through darkness, and sort of this dappling of like this color trying to bleed through a dark um, a dark speckled background. It's like you might even look at it as like the precursor to this card. It's almost like you have the storm and you have that Uranian energy cutting through, and like Pluto, which is dark, and it's sort of like, that might be kind of how you found yourself, like sort of in this heaviness of Plutonian energy, especially like in the immediate aftermath. You still, perhaps like in this storm, it was a lot more lightning bolts, a lot less color bleeding through, just darkness and chaos. But now you start seeing like this like bleed through of colors, like the sort of the um the beauty that's going to be revealed, what has been almost transformed through this like metaphorical death you might have experienced in one or more areas of life. And the colors bleeding through are sort of our hint that like we're on this like precipice of um, what the effect of everything you've gone through before now will be. How it's almost like this hint of like, stick around, because I think you might be surprised at what emerges. So the storm, our underlying energy, very appropriate. Right off the bat, when I look at the combination of the flame, the poet, and the mother, it's like the flame is very much like, well, it's also sort of like, if you think of what a storm and chaos and like burning down something that can't stand, and then you think of what an organized like um, version of that would be, like in an aftermath of where you're trying to create from the rubble, where you're trying to see what remains, take inventory of what remains, and then nurture it. It's like not letting all the fire go out, like lots of fire is chaos and it burns down, of course, but like the flame, that initiatory sort of energy of what remains. It's like the flame reminds you that there is that spark inside of you, that passion, and it's like calms down. It's stable. It's a stable fire, um, and it is just one single flame, but it's enough. It's sort of just in the like shape of the card and like the concentration of the colors that are warm, and then with this lightness in the background, it's sort of like the energy that carries you forward into uh, whatever it is you're going to become or create as a result of everything you've gone through. Then we got the Mother, which is the very first card in the whole deck, actually. It's number 1. And I think this is also interesting. You see in the middle, there's like a pearl. Um, Really interesting, because today the moon entered Cancer, which is its home sign. Cancer's ruling planet is the moon. It's the only sign that gets the moon. Um, so the fact that it entered Cancer today and sort of coinciding with Pluto entering Aquarius, um, even aside from this reading, energetically, I guess a really sensible takeaway from just those two transits coinciding on one day, on a Mars day, so that could be our flame here, is not only the importance of nurturing. Like when you look at your moon sign, or just the moon in general, moon energy is like the home, and it's also your emotional, like your inner home, your emotional world, your emotional needs, how you express yourself. And the Mother talks about nurturing, of course, just like what you could assume about the archetypal nature of the mother from your own experience. Maybe you are a mother. Um, you had a mother at some point. You might not have known her, or you might have a fractured relationship with her. But the mother comes from just that center sometimes that we have to find within ourselves. Like, what is it that's precious, um, and that needs to be nurtured? And I think that this is a really important theme, because although it might seem, especially through Pluto going through Capricorn, which is associated more with like masculine energy, um, the mother energy being what comes out now, um, I think is an important, almost like foreshadowing of like the role of um, the feminine moving forward. And now, again, there are lots of things you could point to think like, oh, it's the patriarchy, like we're all stuck under the patriarchy forever, and like nothing's going to change. But one thing I want to always like warn people about is that, one, especially under the more complicated astrology that I'm not going to go into here, things are not what they seem. Um, and that's not to say things are going to change in whatever way you think is more favorable. That's not that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying things aren't what they seem, especially in this period of transition. Um, there's a lot of moving parts, and there are also things that, again, are not quite clear, and they won't be, especially if you keep looking for external signals of it. So it's sort of your invitation to do things like this, like go within, try to tap into something of the more feminine side, the right brain side, the mother. Go within and see what that inner, that more receiving voice, that receiving side, um, the yin side of things. See what kind of guidance is there, because um, I see in the future, regardless of who is elected and who is not elected, and who seems to hold the levers of power and who doesn't. Um, Again, those are just the outward facing markers. Those are the institutional markers. But from everything I've already said, and a lot of other things that I could go into but won't right now, the real power center is the people. Like, it is the collective energy that is still sort of like working itself out. But that's why I'm pulling these cards now, because this is how I tend to like sort of tap into what the collective energy is, the underlying energy, despite what the outward indicators based on who's in charge of this or that institution or this system or structure. Um, that's a different thing, and that's sort of in its twilight era. That's not where the power lies, and it might take a while for you to pick up on how and why that is, but you'll get there. A good way to start is to just start trying to cultivate your own inner guidance system. Uh, Pulling tarot yourself would be a really great start to that. What I like to do is I just like to sit there and kind of get a feel for the energy without overthinking it. Maybe you want to jot it down when you wake up or something. Sort of like meditate on it, and then pull cards and see what comes out. Like, see if you can get sort of that confirmation, and that over time is how you can become more confident in working with energy yourself. Because people that pull tarot, it's not like I have a superpower that you don't. It's just that I have cultivated a thing that we all have access to, and grown more confident over a period of time, Saturn, in relying on that almost previously unacknowledged and unnurtured part of myself, which I think probably describes a lot of people in this world, because often that yang energy, the sort of like left brain, what we can see and touch, um, and things that we get, external reward systems from those skill sets, those are very much, it's very much a different skill set than the skill set that will make you comfortable with tarot. You're going to have to rely on your intuition a lot more. And some people actually already have really strong intuition and instincts. They just haven't given themselves a chance to like almost see that about themselves, if that makes sense. So let's see what the Quantum Tarot has for us. Well, there's one right away. Got the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords. Six of Swords in general is about moving to a calmer place mentally. Swords are thoughts, associated therefore with air signs, Gemini, Libra, and Aquarius. Thoughts, communications. Sixes are generally like considered it's like a harmonious number. It's a place of balance. So when the Six of Swords shows up, it's indicating a transition to a place of more harmony and balance, a place of mental calmness, getting out of a place of because the Five of Swords is a place of sort of like mental conflict. So if you're at the Six of Swords, you've presumably moved away from what once was an unsettled mental state in favor of a place of mental harmony and balance. Good place to be right now. So I find that encouraging. Six of Swords. Let's see what else we can get here. The Six of Swords. Okay. Oh, we've got the Ace of Pentacles. Very nice. Pentacles are associated with earth energy. So the earth signs Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. And the ace is sort of like that initiation, like a new energy. So I've said this in previous videos, but pentacles are resources. So most obviously, we look at money, but especially in the context of tarot and like working with energy and talking about energy, more than anything, it's your energetic resources. So when I see this right off the bat, like Six of Swords with this Ace of Pentacles, this is a really nice place to be. This is sort of somewhere inside an acknowledgement that your thoughts, getting that into a place of balance and harmony, calmer waters, you might say, is really a sort of goes hand in hand with like an energetic new start. Like this is almost realizing that there is like a power source within you that might have been previously unacknowledged. You might say it's your energetic resources as something valuable and almost like precious, this one piece, this thing that you haven't previously detected that has nowhere to go but up. So you've got that ace. That's what the aces are for all of the suits, but the Ace of Pentacles is sort of that energetic new start. Also, I think quite appropriate for this moment. So one or two more of these to see what we've got alongside our Six of Swords and our Ace of Pentacles. Like I said, I will go and into the archetypes deck and read those descriptions after I get these cards out, but I'm going to go ahead and get these down so that you can have them to look at when I read. And then here we have the Ten of Wands. So the Ten of Wands, wands are associated with fire signs. That would be Leo, Sagittarius, in Aries. And 10 is that's the last number in a suit. The 10 of Wands is basically um, a little bit too much fire. It's kind of like what you might say this storm energy is. It's like, okay, this is not sustainable. Like this is a lot for me to carry. Um, Passion and energy, the fire, the flame. This is like 10 of these basically. It's too much. It's too much. Um, the 10 of Wands, after the 10 of Wands, you go back to the Ace of Wands, like the sort of like, okay, let's like get this back down to like, one spark, and then like take it from there. But the 10 of Wands is like the completion, you might say. It's tens are completion. So 10 of Wands is like, this can't go any further. Like the old way of doing things, the old way of carrying all of this um too much passion and energy and like fire is obviously a bad thing. That's not something that is sustainable. And so this 10 of Wands out here suggests that there is something um, that you might see. You're just kind of on the verge of like dropping all the wands. It's sort of like, let's just leave that behind. Like, I can't carry all that anymore. I'm too impassioned about this thing, like a hyper fixation that's like that sort of fire in your belly, but not in a good, nurturing, um, warm way, sort of like it's about to blow up in my face and I'm going to spontaneously combust sort of way. That's what the 10 of Wands is. So we've got this right next to the Ace of Pentacles. And let's get one more to go with these. All right. And here we have another ace, the Ace of Cups. So, like I said with this Ace of Pentacles, the Ace of Cups suggests that emotionally, cups are associated with the water signs. So that would be Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio. But an Ace of Cups, it's sort of this energy of a new emotional start, new emotional opportunity. So right off the bat, I have to notice that we've got all four elements represented in these cards. Um, Energetically and emotionally, it looks like we're in a good place. In terms of the fire burning inside, that seems like it could stand a little bit of like sort of mitigation, which maybe this reading will help. You let go of some things that might feel like the source of like too much passion, maybe anger. um I can definitely relate. Like is there anger, like almost this sort of like energy that seems to be running rampant inside of you that you might need to just like let go of? um but then when it comes to our thoughts over here, like with the Six of Swords, this is a really good place. This is sort of I think, it being the first card that came out, you might say it's sort of what allowed us to get this Ace of Pentacles and Ace of Cups. Um, but in order to get these, to keep these in balance and to progress in a way that's going to be helpful to us, let's really think about this 10 of Wands here. Oh, at the bottom of the deck, very, very nice. We've got the Empress card. The Empress card is, I mean, that's like it's like all the queens combined. It's a nice balance of all the elements of the Queen of Cups, the Queen of Wands, the Queen of Pentacles, and the Queen of Swords. The Empress is like the Queen of Queens, associated with the sign of Venus. And the Empress is all about creation. So whether that's creating new life in a lot of cards, including this one, it's depicted as like a feminine figure that's pregnant, but it's not. It doesn't have to be literal. It's creation is the same energy across the board when it comes to creating life, but also creating art, like self-expression, more than anything. And it's associated with the fifth house. It's associated with where art and leisure and romance, and just bringing something into form that otherwise existed as like a creative impulse inside of you. um, that's what the Empress is all about. It's abundance and nurturing and creativity, possibility. So that's our underlying energy for the quantum. And it's funny because when you look at like underlying energy of the storm and underlying energy of the Empress, um, it's almost like this chaos magic. It's almost like you, if you've ever experienced this feeling, you'll know what I mean. But how sometimes things have to just get all like jumbled up. You just almost have to just let go, smash the containers, let the storm hit, and then what you're left with is all of this raw energy. Because it, you know, whether it's grief, which often is a very necessary element of self-expression, um, either way, it's uncontained. It's like all this new material, sort of like the cosmos is. You look out and all those colors and like strange forms and clouds and nebula, and like things are exploding, and like from that things are being birthed. It's very much the energy of all of this. It's sort of from the chaotic, like cosmic stew, is something coalescing that has never been. But right now, it's just all of this raw energy trying to organize itself. And some of it is like off balance, like this 10 of Wands, you know, there might be a little bit like sort of supernova or like some sort of star with a bit too much energy that hasn't quite like quieted down to the get to the point to where it can like be a nice twinkle of something that once was, and then be transformed into like its new form. This is still sort of like a volatile energy right here. That's the most volatile energy that I see out here, aside from the underlying of the storm. But I think it's consistent as well. Like, so we're gonna stick with these energies, focus on these. And then for the Aquarian tarot, this is just traditional Rider Waite, but with this sort of Art Deco illustration of the Aquarian tarot. And we're just going to see if we can get like a little bit of clarification, anything more to be said about some of these energies in the quantum tarot. So I'll just start by seeing what comes up for the Six of Swords. See if we can get any insight. Six of Swords. Clarification on the Six of Swords, please. Anything to know further? Some clarification on the Six of Swords. There it is. So we have the Death card. Pluto. Let's just say Death, Pluto. That almost suggests to me that somewhere inside you've already acknowledged that something is over. An era, an old way of being, an old way of doing, a way of looking too much to the outside for your sense of mental well-being, um, which is really just a way of giving your power away, and that's Pluto. I think that as people start to pick up on it, I would say that they already have by this, that their real power lies within, and from that can come a place of mental security that you have not previously experienced. When you start to realize that you've got all the tools already to feel empowered, you might have just been inadvertently disempowering yourself by continuing to look outside of yourself for your sense of purpose, but also sense of stability and sense of worth. So I'm just going to leave it at that with the Six of Swords. There's almost this death has already been acknowledged, that something is over. Death, and like in the tarot, the death card is basically just a way of saying that something else is because there's no such thing as just death, that it's not the last card. Like, it's a card that suggests that something is being born at the same time. It's the same energy. Something has died so that something can be reborn. And the swords are associated with Aquarius. Six of Swords is also an Aquarius card. So I find this to be a very Pluto and Aquarius punctuation here. So Death card and the Six of Swords. You might say that the reason we are at Six of Swords, a place of balance, at least internally, we might not know exactly what the answer is, but we are in calm waters, and we have acknowledged that something is over and that something new is coming, is being reborn from that. So let's leave that there. Ace of Pentacles. Any clarification here? Ace of Pentacles. All right, so we've got a couple that flew out here. I'm actually going to stick with the one that came out on its face. Here we've got the Two of Pentacles, and it came in reverse. So what we're going to do is we'll put it right here. For the record, I don't believe in putting too much stock into what's upright and in reverse, because as I've said in other videos, it's out here regardless. So for some of you watching this, it might actually be more fairly described as like being upright. For some of you watching this, it might still sort of be working itself out. Either way, it's out here. So I'll just stick with talking about what the Two of Pentacles is, and see how it relates to this Ace of Pentacles. But if I'm going to take it the way it just presented itself to me, I'm going to look at this as sort of, because the Two of Pentacles is like a card of generally coping. It's sort of like, I'm working with these two energies. And then like in this deck, but as well as like the traditional Rider-Waite-Smith, it's got this like this lemniscat around it. It's suggesting that this is like sort of a balancing act that's not exactly, it's sustainable, but like it's sort of caught in perpetuity. Like, there's no room for another pentacle here. It's sort of stuck in this energy of just maintaining these two pentacles, because it's all I can really do. And I'm just going to sort of stay in this loop indefinitely. But that's not exactly the road to fulfillment, is it? I mean, it's managing, it's showing up, and then it's coming home, and then like, doing the bare minimum and then repeating. It's generally being stuck on repeat, which is not really ideal. I mean, even the person's face, they just look super despondent, and like they're sick of doing this little like song and dance, this sort of coping razzmatazz for everyone else. So energetically, this suggests that at least for some of you out there, you're sort of just done with the energetic coping, or if we even look at it more literal as like money management. Like, I've sort of got what I need, but like not enough for more. I can maintain this and that, and maybe I could rearrange some things, but either way, I'm sort of stuck in this loop of maintaining my internal energetic resources, or like my actual like coins, my money. And I need a new start. Like, I need this isn't it for me. So we're going to stick there with that Two of Pentacles. Really just try to stick to one card per quantum tarot card. Two of Pentacles to go alongside the Ace. Let's see what this Ten of Wands is about. Why is the Ten of Wands here for us? All right, so flipped out, upside down again in my hand is the Six of Rods, which is Wands. Also kind of interesting because we've got a pentacle to a pentacle card as underlying energy, and we've got wands to the wands card. So right off the bat, especially since it flipped itself over and showed upside down in my hand, I'm going to suggest the six of rods. So I talked about the sixes. When it's upright, it's like a card of like celebration. It's like outward, being celebrated and recognized outwardly, and it's sort of like this proud, like marching through the square with my rods, and like I'm being seen as like being in a place of balance. I've got my fiery energy and it's in a place of balance, and I'm sort of walking around knowing that I am successful and victorious. And it's very much a card of external recognition, right? Well, given that it was in reverse, and given that it is the underlying energy to this Ten of Wands, this tier to here to me is sort of not really feeling like the external recognition system is cutting it for you. Uh, and I think that's very on theme for right now. I think that it's also understandable because, you know, when you look at like Capricorn and like the era we're moving out of, power, Pluto in Capricorn, sort of top down power structures, institutions, um, that is a system of external validation, is it not? I mean, we go and we show up to work and we get the paycheck, and that's our acknowledgement that we spent our day in a worthwhile way. We go and we like move our way up the system, and like the more higher up in the hierarchy we climb of top down power structures, the more validated we feel in terms of how we spend our time, our energetic resources. Now, over time, I think we've all had a front row seat to see that uh, those structures aren't necessarily where we should be gaining our sense of value, anyways. But furthermore, they've proven themselves to be inadequate to uh, deriving a true sense of understanding of worth and value. In other words, no matter how many accolades I get at work, I'm not feeling fulfilled anyways. And like I have to take that as some sort of indicator that I actually am evolving. I am evolving in due time along with the collective, and that just like you might expect, the institutions are not going to be able to evolve as quickly as individual people. That just makes sense because institutions are, after all, just a collection and often very complex system and hierarchy of people at different levels with varying levels of communication. Um, and so, therefore, the institution becomes inefficient and unfortunately corrupt sometimes. You know, it becomes a thing that is lost touch with its original purpose at inception, and therefore has to crumble. Like Pluto is not going to take down anything that was structurally sound. So when I look at this six of rods in reverse as underlying energy for the 10 of rods, there seems to be this internal recognition of one, how you're not feeling recognized, regardless of like what system that you find yourself in or what institution you find yourself at the mercy of. You don't feel like a winner. Um, and that itself is creating an a feeling of burden upon you. Like that itself is enough of a burden to show that it cannot be sustained, that you've reached the sort of um, functional limit of that energy. um, so the six of wands in reverse is again the opposite of external recognition, the opposite of feeling like a winner, the opposite of feeling victorious. And that is the energy underlying this 10 of wands. It's sort of something's got to give, and I don't feel like a winner. This is also sort of like going back to the pentacles. I don't feel satisfied energetically. This isn't it. Like I'm maintaining here, but there's not room for anything else. And then this is in terms of like the inner passion and like drive, and sort of the wands are very much like your creative spark. Um, this being in reverse is telling us all we need to know. This is not feeling it's not feeling creatively empowered. It's not feeling recognized. It's not feeling victorious. So now let's get to the Ace of Cups and see what is underlying that. Why is the Ace of Cups out here, please? Show me the Ace of Cups. Okay, we've got several that revealed, so I guess we'll just take, well, we'll probably just take this top one, which is the Three of Cups. And then let's see on the bottom of the deck. Okay, so we've got this Three of Cups. Underneath, we do have the Knight of Pentacles, the Queen of Pentacles, the Eight of Pentacles, the Nine of Pentacles, and the Emperor. But again, in the name of just keeping it simple, and also what revealed itself, the other cards were sort of caught underneath, was the Three of Cups. Again, we have a cup to a cup, wands to wands, pentacles to pentacles. Very interesting. Three of Cups, threes are three is a number of creation. So the Empress that I talked about, the creation energy, this is a three in the major arcana. Threes and all the minor arcana suits are generally what you create, like, and that just has its own specific connotation based on the suit. So when we have Three of Cups, and then when you look at the Ace of Cups, this is suggesting that you're sort of like emotional, this sort of peek into a new feel emotionally, like this Ace of Cups, like an emotional new beginning, is rooted in collaboration with others. If you've ever looked at like the cup suits in general, the Two of Cups is just one person and another. So the Two of Cups is very much like me and another, a seventh house type relationship, which means a marriage or a business partnership. It's a one-on-one emotional connection, the Two of Cups. But the Three of Cups has three people here, three individuals, and it's sort of like the card, I call it, of merriment. Like the Three of Cups is like, oh my gosh, let's all get together and catch up. Let's all get together and like talk about our hopes and dreams, and like just create this fun moment of emotional fulfillment together. It's not even necessarily creating something tangible, although you might arguably say that just the act of getting together and sharing your emotions and excitement and hopes and dreams with someone um, is necessarily what leads to tangible results, like a Three of Pentacles, you might say. So if the Three of Pentacles were to come out, that would be sort of more the energy that it takes. It's like, oh, we're getting together and building something. Like energetically, we are combining our forces, and we're a team and creating something material. The Three of Cups is suggesting that, as the underlying, that you are definitely starting, at least on the emotional level, intuitively to sense what the real Aquarian era is about. Sharing what is inside, bringing what is inside and like unique and sacred, rare about you into the outside world so that it can reach other people. And I use the word reach because sometimes it's worth considering the difference between um, reaching and just presenting something to someone. Like there's the act of content creation where I think externally I'm expected to do this, and externally, like everyone that has a big YouTube channel pumps out this on this schedule and this amount of things and blah, blah, blah. That's content creation. That's sort of like taking the feeling side out of it. But when I talk about reaching people, that's where that's where I think the future lies when it comes to finding your people of shared interest, finding your community, both online and in real life. It requires something of you. It requires that cup, like that sort of emotional new beginning that's just there waiting to be taken somewhere. And whether that be with one other person or a group, Aquarius is very much about platonic love. So while that often leads to romantic love, like more one on one connections or one on one business collaborations, which is another sort of Two of Cups energy, the Three of Cups is very much that sort of love for groups, love for friends, just in general, love for this group. I love being around all these people, and I feel emotionally fulfilled by the connections that I have with people on a platonic level. So the Three of Cups is very much like platonic love, platonic emotional fulfillment through your connections with groups of other people. Now, at the bottom of this deck, we have another three. And so the underlying energy of like everything that's come out here is Three of Rods, so Three of Wands in reverse. Now, again, I'm not going to take that with too much weight, like it being in reverse or not. But if I'm just going to stick to the pattern here, Three of Rods in reverse. So three, when I talk about creation energy, and I liken that to the rods, it's almost like a you might say it's almost like you want to create, you're waiting to see what your passion and energy, a lot of people call it like waiting for your ships to come in. A lot of readers say the Three of Wands is waiting for your ships to come in. Like you're standing there with your three wands, and it's like two is like, okay, I'm ready. I'm like grounded. I got one wand on either side. Two is sort of like, I'm balanced. I'm ready to go. And then three is like, I've added a third one. It's almost like you brought like this fire starter in the mix. You're like, okay, let's like get this going. And you're like, rubbing the sticks together with your like fire starter, your third wand. And like it's sort of like a non-start. Like it's sort of waiting for your ships to come in, but when it's upside down, it's almost like, okay, we got to stop. Like maybe some of these sticks are wet or something. Like maybe something could stand to change. There's an adjustment needed for this to be upright. And right off the bat, I'm just going to go back to this section over here about the wands. I think maybe that there's, to me, the biggest standout of everything that has come out here is maybe the need to collectively renegotiate our idea of what sparks us, like where our passion comes from, um, where it could stand to be tempered a little bit, where it could stand to be reevaluated. Maybe some of our sticks are wet, or maybe there's too much of a fire burning over here for anything new and meaningful to get off the ground under here. So take that as you may. And what I'm going to do is start by reading the underlying energy here for the storm. And listen to these. Maybe while I'm reading, you might want to zoom in on some of these cards to see what jumps out at you visually. And really think about what I've said about these cards as I read the descriptions for these and see what resonates and if it can kind of give color. Everything that I've said over here to this, they're all sort of like speaking to one another, has been my experience. So the storm. The very first card out of this whole reading, the storm, the chaos, the whirlwind, the disorder. Possessing an energy much like the Tarot's Tower card, the storm undoes all that is. Everything that was solid, known, and relied upon is stripped away by the winds of fate. The ground becomes the sky becomes the center, and then the center disappears. The storm is a great equalizer. No matter how far we've come on the path, no matter our age, wealth, or wisdom, we can't hide from its savage winds. Their disturbing howls stir anxiety and make it impossible to see and think straight. You must wait it out. If you try to fight the storm, you will lose. A better option is to seek temporary shelter and a reliable friend. When all else fails, go within. There, for a moment, you settle into the eye of the storm. Right off the bat, I'm already starting to see how the wand and cup energy is playing into this message. Even the Two of Pentacles, it's sort of like hunkering down, finding solace with friends. Something's got to give. But for now, like, hunker down and wait it out. When light, meaningful obliteration and annihilation. When dark, meaningless disorder and dysfunction. I really like the phrase meaningful obliteration and annihilation here because it reminds me of a phrase I've used a lot in the last couple of weeks to describe my approach to living in this era and these really strong transits of collective planets that are sort of once in a lifetime is an understatement. Navigating through times that are actually unprecedented in several ways. But I have described my own personal, like, microcosm experience of it as a controlled demolition because I found that in doing astrology and living my own astrology and witnessing, I find that some energies are so strong to where if you don't give the energy something to do, it will do something with you. Like there's some energy that's so insistent upon itself um, that it really helps to almost like get ahead of it, at least enough to consider, okay, before I'm forced to change this, what honest inventory can I really do? Peeling back the layers, looking deep within, underneath the surface, Pluto, what's hidden, which is also a very scorpionic theme. Scorpio is, Pluto is considered the modern ruler of Scorpio. Traditionally, it was Mars. I consider Mars and Scorpio to be the rulers of, or I'm sorry, Mars and Pluto to be the rulers of Scorpio. Scorpio is the death card. And Pluto, just like Scorpio, rules what's unseen, what stirs beneath the surface. So um, sometimes by going in those unpleasant places, you can sort of get ahead of what you feel instinctively to be some sort of like thrusting into like a situation that you've never been in before. Sometimes the seams bust and what wasn't sustainable and sort of blows up presents itself very unceremoniously in many ways. So I kind of like I like using the phrase controlled demolition because if you have a bent towards stability, um, that's really good until it isn't, until Uranian energy comes along and you'll start to realize how putting stability just for stability's sake as the prime sort of quality, um, well, that of course is what prevents change. You know, you can't have change with like holding on too tight to things just for the sake of like stability. Stability is the opposite of upheaval, isn't it? But upheaval is often the necessary precursor to growth. Like you have to sort of like, you know, run the wrecking ball through the existing structure to see that clinging on too tight to something is what was preventing the necessary expansion that living right now is requiring of everyone. So there's our underlying energy of the storm. Meaningful obliteration. Side note, the storm lays bare the truth that there are forces larger than you. This understanding is a relief, but also a predicament of power that requires your surrender. Basically what I just said. So the storm's intention is to rebalance your equilibrium. It is a result of precarious conditions, not the cause of them. The result of precarious conditions, not the cause of them. So it's easy to see the chaos around the storm, the things that seem like, why am I alive during this period of time? It seems like, why can't I live through precedented times? I have come to see that that's not a very productive way of looking at things, and it's also missing the forest through the trees. So stick with that. We're gonna do the poet since it was the first card that popped out. The storm, of course, is our underlying energy. The poet, the artist, the witness, the truth teller. The poet's work is to feel immensely and not be afraid. They must seek out truth in the darkest corners of the world and carry it back for all to see. This unique capacity resides within us all, regardless of our relationship to creativity. When the poet energy is present, there's a call for deep honesty and reflection, for seeing the big picture within the little one. The poet rides effortlessly between the personal and universal. It's possible that others may not seem to listen or care about the poet's work, but do not be discouraged. The words of the poet ring true for centuries to come, soothing the wounds of despair and violence that captivate our world. The poet's work is never finished. Find your voice and trust that the wind will carry it. When light, clairvoyant, wise, and timeless. When dark, harmful words, sharp tongue, thwarted creativity. The poet is related to the shaman and the bridge. These archetypes hover in the meeting place between the everyday and the sacred. It's likely there was a poem or poet that was meaningful to you at a young age. Revisit and reread it now. Be open to its message. The artist, the witness, and the truth teller. Okay, we're going to read the flame. The flame is the fire, the spark, the glimmer. In Sanskrit, the word for fire is Agni. The ancient yogis saw this flame at the center of the abdomen and believed it to be responsible for our vitality. When it is lit, we are connected to our purpose and sense that life is a sacred gift. It is said that those who cannot see the sacred around them have let their inner flame go out. Think of this card as a call to reignite that fire, to cup your hands gently around those things that you've forgotten and protect the flame no matter how harshly the winds around you blow. The storm could be an inner archetype that begs you to light its wick. It is likely that the poet, the mystic, or the shaman would call to you with the language of the flame. So we've got these as related pairs. And we've had the shaman referred to in both card descriptions now. When light, health, mental clarity, good digestion. When dark, excess heat and anger, complete darkness. To enliven the connection with this archetypal energy, practice the candle gazing technique called Trataka. Notice how lighting a single candle in any space brings magic to the room and creates a sense of reverence. The archetypal fire is at the beginning of all transformation, purification, and manifestation. Nearly every spiritual lineage honors the flame. Okay, I just got this, just came to me. When I'm going back to this 10 of Wands here with this 6 of Wands in reverse, and then I just look at how it started with this flame, and then I look at the almost sensory overload, like, you know, the way that you feel after you're bombarded with too much, like in the world of like constant distraction and input, and like I could touch this button and get like this delivered, and then I could get this. It's like constant. It requires something of you now to be alive, to put blinders on to all the things that are actually meant to tell you, like, let this light your fire, let this light your fire, let this light your fire. Doesn't this make you happy? And, you know, presenting something to you in these moving colors and lights and like in 30-second bits or less. And you like feel your like heat rise, like you feel almost like, oh Lord, I've got like too many flames going on. I feel hot. I feel almost irritable now. Like you notice that irritability that you feel when you have had sensory overload, too much screen time, and then like this screen over here is too loud, and then like this sound over here. It's almost like wand energy gone awry. It's almost like this constant bombardment of energy and like insisting upon themselves that you didn't invoke, that you didn't invite, that have nothing to do with your inner flame, like what lights you. So I'm now like with this description and like looking at sort of the stillness and peace and like order of this flame, and then like what we're getting here with the 10 of Wands and then the 6 of Wands in reverse. um I think there's a message there that very much is related to well, most practically speaking, like maybe sort of like contemplate your digital hygiene, because you're alive now, and like I understand how hard it is to sort of like drown out all of that noise, but everywhere you look you're being told like you need to care about this, you need to be worked up about this, you need to really want this, like hurry, get in your car, open your phone and order this. Like you are being told and sort of like almost drawn in everywhere you turn to care a lot about this and to get really hyped up about this and to get impassioned about this, and look at this, don't you want to get into, isn't this your hobby, isn't this your flame, like yeah, like come on and do this. And really the whole like point is to get you usually to buy things like or to give away something of yours that's valuable, like your energetic resources. And so you start to see how all of these things are kind of like inextricably intertwined, how the balance of this can very much cause a lot of chaos and all the other elements that make you up. But here, I don't know, the way that fire has been presented in this reading, it tells me, one, we've probably gotten a little bit too good at staying in this 10 of Wands. Like I think we all know what it's like to be like, okay, I can handle it, this screen and that screen, and yes, I care about that, yes, I'm very incensed about this, and like that's sort of fire within, and like yeah, I'm mad, that makes me mad, and yeah, I'm happy, that makes me happy, and yeah, I'm that makes me really joyful and impassioned, and like, but it's not from the place of it's not genuine and authentic to you. It's just external stimuli that is meant to light fires inside you that generally propel you to act. That's what wand energy is. It's like passion, um, ignition that inspires action. And, you know, I'm probably not breaking any ground here by telling you this, but the action that it's generally trying to inspire is for you to buy something, or for you to um, assign your attention and generally somehow your resources, money, or just energetically, to something else that someone is telling you to care a lot about. So, and then I go back to this underlying, the other wands that we have, 3 of Wands in reverse. It is um, the main thing, the main impediment on your creativity, your creative spark. But you know, again, here we've got the Empress as our underlying energy. So this is the supreme energy. This is where we are. Um, but these are sort of like the hidden things underneath, like the things that we kind of need to keep in mind, given all of these other things up here. And I like these underlying energies or the clarifiers because they kind of give you this opportunity to um, tweak where you might see the need for some tweaking, and also to get more of like sort of like look at this energy from like an angle of, okay, how can I nurture this, like where it is, how can I keep this at a place of use to myself, so that I can move forward in some meaningful way and build up the right way. So that's what these underlying cards are here. I think the most literal Pluto and Aquarius one is like what came out first is here the Six of Swords, which is Aquarius. It's our thoughts, air signs in general, swords, but then we've got death. So um somewhere inside you already know that something is gone, like it's sort of the end of an era and that we're in a new space. And with that comes sort of recalibration of all of the elements that you hold within. So we're going to end on talking about the mother, and maybe that would be a nice place to sort of consider what needs nurturing, you know, like we've already sort of hinted about like the flame within and like kind of gently cupping your hands around it and like what lights your fire within and how to nurture it. It's going to be different for all of you obviously, but the mother, the great mother, the feminine, the source. We begin our archetypal story with the mother's love. Through her sensual, fertile, and life giving energy, all creation takes form. Regardless of our birth story, each of our hearts beat for the first time in the warm womb of the mother, where she offered resources from her body for the building of our own. Yet her tale is not so simple, as the mother, especially on the earthly plane, contains both light and dark aspects of the feminine. With the best of intentions, the mother wraps her loving arms around her creations and begins to grip what she meant to set free. The mother both nurtures and prohibits growth. She gives yet clings. She creates yet restricts. Amid this complex energy, the mother holds the key to the eternal challenge of love. When light, glowing, generative, creative, and nurturing. When dark, dim, exhausted, controlling, and limiting. Notice how the mother archetype is expressed in nature. This is perhaps the most balanced and benevolent form of the mother's grace. The mother is part of the trifecta of maiden, mother, crone. Because of the relationship between them, take special note when these cards appear in one reading. So I'm going to go back to what she says about notice how the mother archetype is expressed in nature and how it's the most balanced and benevolent form of the mother's grace. And I can't help but go back to what I was saying about why I find just going outside and walking around in nature, through the woods, through a park, wherever, to be so grounding. And I think it maybe instinctively, like this is sort of leading me to a point of like a thing to meditate on is the sort of both in and mentality when it comes to creating something and being proud of it and loving it without clinging to it. And I think if I'm gonna like step back even further and take the lesson of Aquarius, especially like Aquarius is associated with like love for humanity. There are a lot of jokes and like memes out there you'll see about like, oh, Aquarius, like Aquarius loves humanity but hates people. Like, oh, every Aquarius, you know, like just wants progress for the future, but seems stone cold detached from like, you know, some in it one-on-one context. And like those are fair. Those are generally like the Saturnian qualities that I see. But as someone with strong Aquarius energy in my chart, um, I can tell you that what that really is that you have to have some discipline. You have to have a level of detachment when it comes to individual things in order to care about the big picture. Like you can't meaningfully give your attention. You can't employ Saturn, which requires a bit of discipline thinking and a few boundaries to make any meaningful change if you let every single little thing um, put you at the 10 of Wands. Like you are a finite being and you might have really above average powers of regeneration and resilience energetically, emotionally, whatever, but you still are a finite being and you need time to reflect and recharge, reboot, whatever, um, in this 3D world. So when I look at like what it's saying with the mother, and how when you go out in nature and it seems almost like, um, even in the animal world, like it's like a mother, will have like a litter of something, or like, two babies or three, and then one of them's weak and like won't be able to like, take care of itself in the way that it needs to beyond what the mother provides. And you know whether it's in a bird's nest or whatever, and like you hear it's just very commonplace for like the sickly one to be abandoned, like, it's almost sacrificing this one thing for the good of the whole, which is extremely Aquarian, but it seems unforgiving. Like the sort of bleeding heart part of you wants to hone in on that one weak link, and wonder like, well, how can Mother Nature be benevolent? Like that seems so cruel. And um or like the garden, you look at the garden and everything's so beautiful and like abundant and lush, and then like the fall comes, and then it's like, oh, everything lights up and it's like all these pretty colors, and then before you know it, everything just like, dies back, and it's like the leaves have fallen, and like there's just bare branches, and there's no canopy in the tree that, created that nice just right amount of dappled sunlight, that very all the pleasurable things seems like it's just stripped away. And then like, the flowers have died back, and sometimes you just have the brown, seed heads of things. And it's it's sort of like that, the mythology of when Persephone goes to the underworld, and you know everything that seemed like a light and fruitful and abundant in the spring and all the, warmer months, in the winter it's just so unforgiving. And like, we go from everything to nothing, and how am I supposed to not feel anything but depressed and like hopeless in the winter, which is Saturn. um but then you realize, if you know anything about gardening and nature, that what allows for that abundance and beauty, that starts peeking out in the spring, is that period of like pause and reflection and waiting it out, you might say. It's it's the regenerative period. You can't possibly have like, the new growth and like the rule of perennials. If you, have ever worked with, perennials in your garden, it's like the sort of 3-year rule, to where you plant it, and then, you sort of wait, and then it's not until the third season of something, a perennial being planted, that it really starts to make its show. And that tells you something about what goes on underneath the surface, like what goes unseen, like how Pluto works. Its power, is not so much evident right away. It requires a bit of like, rearranging and adjusting and growth beyond what you're capable of seeing, in order to establish itself. And then the canopy is sort of the evidence over time, Saturn, of, um, the work that has been put in behind the scenes. So that's what the winter really is. It's sort of the each plant and like living thing's time to regenerate and to grow stronger, because each season, the comeback is even more magnificent. And so I think nature teaches us a lot about, enjoying and nurturing and loving when something's there, and then like letting it go, like let it go and step away from it. And, your act of creation has already happened. It's like almost like when you make art, and then, especially like edible art, or like people that do makeup art online. Like I think it's admirable, because it's, creativity for creativity's sake. Because at the end of the day, if you're making these beautiful cookies or cakes, um, presumably you're doing it so that someone will buy them and eat them, and it's all gone. And like for makeup, it's, creating these beautiful works of art on someone's face, and then at the end of the day, it just comes off. It's gone. The art is gone. um Making paintings that you're really proud of, and then like selling them, it's sort of bringing us back to the, act of creativity to begin with, which is not possession. And I'm sure that that's, a really hard lesson for, if you're a mother out there. I'm sure that you can relate to this. about loving something with all of your being, and that active creativity being something that you are lucky enough to participate in, but then you have to let it go. It's not yours to possess. So I think there's a message here in the Aquarian age and detaching from the outcome of something, um, and focusing more so on the value of being invited to the act of creation to begin with. Like being lucky enough to be part of this group of networks and like shared interests and love without the need to like cling on to like these are my people now, like that's, I think the difference between platonic love and romantic love is that if you go into every connection with the expectation of romantic love, underlying that you might find is the need to possess, because it's like, oh, if I make this one-on-one connection, this is my connection now. And that's not really how anything works, really. I mean, even your own creation, even me creating something where it's just me and that thing I created, it makes you reconsider your relationship with possession and ownership and value, and seeing how creativity and the act of creating, whether it's a connection or a piece of art, is a separate thing, has its own value that can stand to be highlighted and nurtured and cultivated, um, while also mastering the ability to let go, to detach just enough to keep creating. Because this Three of Wands in reverse suggests that maybe we're holding on to too much. We're holding on to too much, and it's preventing us from being able to create anew. So, all that being said, I hope that you found something in here of value for you, and I hope that you are grounding in whatever way that you can. After this, I'm going to do what I do best, and I'm going to take out some carrots. I'm going to chop those up, and I think I'm going to create like I don't know, something good to eat. I'm going to create something, and then I'm going to eat it up and share it with the neighbors. So whatever it is that keeps you grounded and keeps you in a creative mindset, um, and just generally in a place of mental balance. You don't have to know exactly where you're going. You don't have to know the answers to what's next, but stay in the place of being able to maneuver when you know the time is right. So hope this helps. And once again, I appreciate you being here. Until next time, hope you take care of yourselves.